Hello! Now you know how number patterns crop up all over the place in maths. Well, I can create a pattern or a number sequence by working with a number line like this one. Now I'll start at 0 and count on in twos, and that will give us this sequence. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now if I write that out, here's our sequence. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now that's nothing really very new, but in this lesson we're going to be concentrating on the part of the number line that has negative numbers on it. Now they're the numbers that start to the left of the 0. So we've got -1, -2, -3, and so on. So let's start at 0 and count back in twos. Now what will the sequence be? 0, -2, -4, -6, -8, -10. Now if I show that sequence below the first one, 0, -2, -4, -6, -8, -10. The pattern is the same as before, except that this time the numbers are negative. So, where do we use negative numbers? Well, one of the first sets of negative numbers I came across was in my fridge. Now this is a fridge thermometer, and it has negative numbers, that's numbers below the 0, and also numbers above the 0. And we sometimes call those positive numbers. Now when we talk about temperature, we usually use a different way of saying negative numbers. We say -3 or -5 rather than -3 and -5. You can use either, but I'm going to stick with negative for this lesson. Now this thermometer looks very much like the number line, and by the end of this lesson we'll be using our knowledge of positive and negative numbers to work out how much temperatures change. So, let's get some practice in with the number line. Now you know that in this positive part of the number line, the numbers get larger as you go further to the right, and they get smaller as we go to the left. So which is worth less, 8 or 10? Well, of course, the 10 is the bigger number. So 8 is less than 10. And it's the same on the negative part of the number line. Here, the further to the left you go, the smaller the numbers get. So, which is smaller? -3 or -7? Now, even though the digit 7 is larger than the digit 3, because they're -7 and -3, -7 is smaller than -3. -3 is further to the right, and so it's larger than -7, which is further to the left. So, -3 is greater than -7. Now, if we're talking temperatures, we know that -3 is not as cold as -7, so -3 is more than -7. Okay, here's another pair of numbers. -4 and 4. They're both 4 places away from the 0, but which is worth the least? Well, you could think of them as temperatures again. 4 degrees Celsius and -4 degrees Celsius. And then it's obvious. -4 is less than 4. So, let's have some more practice at sorting out more than or less than by picking out numbers on the number line. Now, whatever number you choose on the number line, it will always be bigger than any number to the left of it, whether it's a positive number or 0 or a negative number. Look at 3, say. Now, is 1 more or less than 3? Well, that's not very difficult. We know the answer anyway, but let's check on the number line. 1 is to the left of 3, so 1 must be smaller. 1 is less than 3. What about -4? Now, is that larger or smaller than 3? Well, it's smaller than 3 because it's further to the left. So, negative 4 is less than 3. Let's keep the negative 4, and let's pick out negative 9. Now, which of these two is larger? Well, negative 4 is to the right of negative 9, so it's larger. Negative 4 is greater than negative 9. Okay, let's do some more work on sequences including negative numbers. Oh, by the way, there's nothing that says you have to start from 0 on the number line. We often do, but don't forget that 0 is just the place where positive numbers meet negative numbers. So you can also make sequences of numbers starting somewhere other than 0. And you can have both positive and negative numbers in a sequence. What sequence do you get if you start at positive 8 and count back in threes? So let's see. We start at 8, count back 3. 1, 2, 3. So that brings us to 5. 1, 2, 3 brings us to 2. 1, 2, 3. Negative 1. 1, 2, 3. Negative 4. So writing that down then, the sequence looks like this. 8, 5, 2, negative 1, and negative 4. Okay, it's time to work with the sequences themselves, although I will leave the number line up here to help. Now this time we're going to complete the missing numbers in this sequence. Now I find it helps to say the beginning of the sequence out loud. 7, 5, 3. Now are the numbers going up or down? Well, they're going down, so we're counting back. But by how many each time? 7, 6, 5, that's 2. 5, 4, 3, that's 2 again. Count back another 2 from 3 gets to 1. And count back 2 again gives us negative 1. And again, negative 3. So we're into negative numbers. So our smallest number so far is negative 3, here. Okay, now let's practice another sequence. This time though, the numbers in the sequence begin with negative numbers. They are negative 7, negative 4, negative 1. Are these numbers getting larger or smaller each time? Well, they're getting larger. Negative 4 is larger than negative 7. And negative 1 is larger than negative 4. But how much larger? Well, it's 3 from negative 7 to negative 4. And 3 again to negative 1. So the next number in the sequence is positive 2. So that's a 2 in the first box. Now you can just look at the difference between numbers in the sequence instead of the number line. Adding 3 to negative 7 gets us to negative 4. And 3 again brings us to negative 1. Add on 3 to negative 1 brings us to 2. And 3 more makes it positive 5. And 3 more again, positive 8. And that completes our sequence. Well, I did say earlier that we'd look at how temperatures change on a thermometer, and so that's what I'll do to finish the lesson. And when it's cold, below freezing, the temperatures are negative numbers. So here's a question about temperatures on a thermometer. On a cold night, the temperature is minus 8 degrees Celsius. That's the same as negative 8 on a number line. But by the morning, it's minus 4 degrees, or negative 4. So, has the temperature gone up or down by the morning? Well, it's gone up because minus 8 is colder. It's less than minus 4. How many degrees has it changed by? Now here's a picture of the thermometer I had earlier. At night, the temperature shows as negative 8, and that's here. And by daytime, it had risen to negative 4. That's here. So how much has the temperature changed by? Well, it's gone up by 1, 2, 3, 4. Or in this case, because these numbers are degrees, the answer is that it's gone up by 4 degrees Celsius. Now, okay, to finish with, here's a slightly different question. It's still cold weather. In the daytime, the temperature is 3 degrees Celsius. But then it fell. It went down at night by 5 degrees. What temperature is it then at night? So how do we work that out? Well, the temperature is going to be lower than 3. Now let's look on the thermometer, count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we get to -2, or -2. So we say that the temperature in the night is -2 degrees Celsius. Well, we've done a lot of work with negative numbers. And now it's time for you to show how much you've learnt by having a go at the exercises. See you next time.